Good evening. I'm here today doing a review because Venerable Chodron had a hip replacement on one side and she's doing very, very well. The physiotherapist yesterday was very surprised after 3 days after the surgery that she could walk already so perfectly. So she has a lot of positive a very good positive attitude towards that, and as a really good model for us how to deal with aging and sickness. That leads us into something I would like for our motivation to share. I shared that already with some of the residents in a morning meeting. So Venerable Chodron, before she had the surgery on Monday, for several days, maybe weeks, she prepared herself. She read everything she could read about the procedure. She watched videos even about the surgery itself. She talked with people who had the same experience of a hip replacement. She received training, requested training from our nurse practitioner, Venerable Thubten Jampa. So we did practices how to walk and how to go to the bathroom, take a shower, and all these things. So every step has been prepared for pre-surgery, during the surgery, and after the surgery. So Venerable Chodron's mind has been excellently prepared for that whole project, so to say. She told me 3 days ago, when I was helping her out, that what she actually did, what she watched, and with whom she talked about that surgery. And it dawned on me that how we should approach our Dharma practice as well. How we should approach mind training. So we train our mind through meditation and through thinking and focusing on the topics again and again. Then we are actually walking the path in our mind. We know what to do, what to expect. And then in reality, in daily life, we are actually able to perform what we have trained our mind in. And from a scientific perspective, if you want to approach it like that, to gain a different perspective on how to approach that, is the theory of mirror neurons. These are a type of brain cells that respond equally when we perform an action and when we witness someone else perform the same action. So, for example, in the 90s, they experienced these with brains of monkeys that neurons fired both when the monkeys grabbed an object and also when the monkeys watched another primate grab the same object. So in the same way, when we are watching or listening, reading, and imagining the upcoming action, certain neurons are motivated. And even I heard many years ago, football players are using that method. So they watch the game before they're playing their own roles, and they measure that the muscles are activated while they're watching. So in a way, they train themselves beforehand. So we can do that too, through meditating, through analyzing and focusing on what we have analyzed to gain deep insight and deep imprints in our mind. And then spontaneously, when we are in our day-to-day life, we will be able to benefit others. It's not just a theory, it's not just a game. We will spontaneously act with compassion or have an insight, see things from a more subtle perspective, more as impermanent, transient, or dependent. or empty. So maybe today, listen to the teachings with that kind of approach to prepare our minds for more big transformation. We have to go step by step. And this small review tonight is just a very short one of 40 minutes, because His Holiness the Dalai Lama is teaching tonight, can still be a stepping stone into the right direction. So may we make use of it for our own benefit and for the benefit of others to attain our highest goal, Buddhahood. Okay, 40 minutes is not a long time to go through something. I had the idea, I got asked to go through chapter 1, but I choose to just focus on the 4 seals. And I will ask the residents and maybe even the online participants to be part of it. I have prepared, basically I summarize what we have learned and how I basically made use of it. And then I will ask you a question, basically to summarize yourself what you have heard this evening or remember from your own studies and practices. All right, the 4 seals. The 4 seals is the basis of all explanations given in Buddhism. So the 4 seals, these are the so-called 4 summaries of the teachings and are closely related to the 4 Noble Truths. And they are another way of expressing it. These 4 seals, on which all the explanation in Buddhism are based: first, all conditioned phenomena are transient or impermanent. All polluted phenomena are dukkha or unsatisfactory in nature. All phenomena are empty and selfless, and Nirvana is true peace. So people accepting the 4 seals are considered Buddhist, first by view, and second, those accepting the 3 jewels as their ultimate resource or source of refuge are considered Buddhist by conduct. So, as a brief summary, the 4 seals are basically, the first one, all conditioned phenomena are transient or impermanent. So there's change in our life constantly. Subtle change, gross changes. And the Buddha said there's nothing that does not change. Impermanence is also an opportunity for us. It gives us the opportunity for change, positive change. We can progress on the path, we can learn. The second of the 4 seals is all polluted phenomena are unsatisfactory by nature. So there are 3 kinds of suffering. The all-pervasive suffering or basic suffering, then the suffering or dukkha of change, and the dukkha of dukkha or suffering from suffering. Then the third one is phenomena are empty and selfless. So or no self, emptiness. And emptiness is like things do not exist permanently, partless, independent. And self, there's no permanent, partless, independent self. So we will go into that. I just want to briefly mention what they entail. And then liberation, the path of true peace, is the fruit of our spiritual effort. Liberation can come from karma through overcoming attachment, anger, ignorance, for example. All right, let's go into the first one. Speeding through it. Basically, all conditioned things, products are transient or impermanent. Our first impression is that when we see things or experience events in life, that they are permanently. They seem to exist forever, unchangingly. For example, a country in Europe, we have these beautiful, or it's a matter of what you want to see beautiful, these old castles. They can be hundreds or thousands of years old, or old towns, made of big stones, heavy stones. We think these things exist forever and will continue to exist this way in the future. Or even in everyday life. Let's take this microphone, or the room we are in, or our robes that we are wearing, or the carpet we are sitting on, or even the political situation in our country. Our first perception is of something inherent, permanent, existing. But as soon as this microphone gets produced put together, it starts to disintegrate, as some of our tech team members know from experience. The reason for it is that it's existing to the different parts. Everything that is composed of different parts must have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the same occurs with government in a country, right? It's starting, it has a period of functioning, and then it will finish. Even if things exist since hundreds or even thousands of years, such as castles, these many years exist due to single years. The years exist of months, the months of days, the days of hours, and the hours of minutes, and the minutes of seconds. So, and seconds too are collections of small moments. A moment exists only momentarily and vanishes in the next. So all things exist in this way. Everything what's surrounding us, all products, everything that has causes and conditions exists in a momentary way. They are not even for 2 moments identical. And therefore the first seal is all conditioned things, products are transient. And this transience happens momentarily, but for our eyes, not necessarily visible. Therefore, we don't recognize immediately the process of aging, for example. It's a gradual process. Transience has also positive effects because we change, we can learn, improve our behavior, right? Because things are impermanent, we can change negative situations into positive ones. And through the recognition of impermanence, we lose our attachment to things or grasping. We accept that change is part of our life, what will make us happier even in this life. So impermanence is our very, very nature, and therefore in a positive note, as things are not fixed, we can change, eliminate afflictions. If we really take responsibility for causes we create, we can transform our life and attain high states of realizations. Nothing lasts. Knowing this makes our life easier. When things change, we don't freak out. All right, now I ask you to summarize the important aspects of impermanence. And don't forget the positive sides. Please go ahead, and if online want to participate, please do. I would ask you to summarize what I have shared or what you have learned, and also point out what are the positive effects of the first seal. Yes, Vamanima, thank you for being brave.
So when a strong affliction arises, I know it's not going to be with me for forever. It's going to end. It's going to come to an end. It's going to change moment by moment. And if I can use tools to work with it, I can reduce its intensity. I kind of try to get out of the affliction mode more quickly. So that's an important aspect of impermanence that works to our benefit when we are trying to work with afflictions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I was thinking of something similar, that no matter what's going on in the mind, relying on the understanding that the mind's the creator of our happiness and suffering, then we can change our mind. That's, I think, one of the greatest assets of recognizing that the mind is impermanent, is that in any moment we can stop whatever it's focusing on and orient our attention to something virtuous, something positive, and get back on track. So it's similar to what Venerable Nima was saying.
But to summarize a little bit, going from there, whether we catch our mind and change it and deliberately take it into a different direction or not, it will still be constantly changing moment by moment.
Yeah.
So we do have the possibility to direct it in one way or another, but the mind is part of the essence of this seal, is that the mind, like all conditioned phenomena, is changing moment by moment by moment, whether we're aware of it or not, and whether we deliberately do anything about it or not.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
From online. It says, all things arise and fall away. It's a reflection of nature, just like ourselves. The weather is not constant. Our mountains are not constant. Space-time itself is relative and changes by perspective.
Thank you. All right. So in the book Foundation of Buddhist Practice, on page 9, it's kind of summarizing it too. It says, while the direct and complete antidote to attachment is the realization of selflessness and understanding of impermanence, will prepare our mind to gain insight into the meaning of selflessness. But understanding impermanence will not harm beneficial qualities such as love, compassion, and altruism, because those emotions are not based on unrealistic grasping impermanent things to be permanent. Contemplating impermanence gives us confidence that our disturbing emotional habits can change and that excellent qualities can grow in us. Okay, continue. The second seal is all polluted phenomena are dukkha. All polluted phenomena are dukkha or suffering. All things we experience and that are combined with the afflictions such as attachment, anger, ignorance are polluted and therefore suffering. Often things, especially sensory objects, appear to us very attractive as if they could satisfy all our desires. Accordingly, we strive for these things, be it our own body, the body of another person, or any other object. When we take possession of these things, at the moment, they seem to fully satisfy our desire. And when we take possession of these things, then at that moment they seem to, they seem to fully satisfy our desires. But we know that this state does not last long. The disadvantages of these properties soon become apparent, and we wish for something better. Next year, we need something new again, as the old object no longer corresponds to the newest fashion. So we chase constantly after objects our whole life till we die, as they don't really fulfill our wishes. They also cause difficulties. Things break, or relationships end, for example. And therefore, it says that all polluted phenomena are dukkha. So dukkha can be divided into 3 kinds. What are they? Yeah, dukkha of pain, dukkha of change, and pervasive condition of dukkha. Okay, the first dukkha, dukkha of pain, it's obvious, such as physical, mental pain. All humans experience these 4 kinds of suffering, dukkha. What are these 4 kinds of suffering of pain?
Have you already told us?
Nope. Nope. And letting you participate.
4 types of suffering of pain, or 4 ways that we grab it?
You can say 4 ways how we experience pain, I would think. Yeah. Yeah. Birth, aging, sickness, death. Just that. Mm-hmm.
It's listed in so many ways because it's really hard for us to get this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to list birth, aging, sickness, and death, then we also look at, say, maybe the 8 sufferings of human beings.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we have only 25 minutes left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the 6 sufferings of psychic existence in general, which is where I was going.
Right. Yeah, completely right. Mm-hmm.
That our things are changing constantly. There's no stability anywhere, and that we're constantly, our minds are never satisfied. Those kinds of things also fall into that.
Yeah. So everybody here has certainly experienced all of these, not death yet, but you have lost somebody in your life. And the second of the 4 Noble Truths, the Buddha is teaching us to recognize the causes of suffering in order to gain freedom from it. Then the suffering of change, we get a new object and we think this will make us happy, a new project or praise, for example. But all of this is under the influence of change as well. It will not last, the object, the praise, whatever, nothing. The Buddha is teaching us now a way to freedom, to find the way out of this illusion, because this illusion, the ignorance we have, the unrealistic expectations are what lead us to disappointment. We are like children who grasp a castle of sand at the shore of an ocean, or at an ocean. With the next wave, the castle of sand will be washed away. So when we were children, we could observe that, right? And after a certain while, we kind of expect that the castle will be washed away. That's exactly what the Buddha is trying to teach us. The third suffering. So everybody suffers. Dukkha means frustration, dissatisfaction. We have the feeling that something is not quite right. Things are not reliable, such as an election. Things do not function as we expect them to. So we constantly are frustrated. Just briefly. For you, a question. Please explain to us, the 3 kinds of dukkha, briefly, and use examples from your own life.
Dukkha of pain is physical pain that you might have, like from cutting yourself with a knife, or just having a body that ages and has physical pain. And the dukkha of change could be the great mood I was in that just went south because feelings are so impermanent, and so are those emotions that flow from them. And then for me, the one that's most salient, the way I think of the dukkha of all pervasive conditioning, is that just in any moment, life can change on a dime, and your whole life can be turned around. For instance, you can be driving into Newport and get hit head on, and your whole life will change. Or you can walk through this door here and have an aneurysm burst in your head, and your whole life will be changed. And so we just are under the influence of our karma and our afflictions, and without, with just the slightest change of circumstances, everything that we're experiencing now can be completely different. And we meet people in our lives like this all the time. Mm-hmm. You're stacking wood in the in a building, and you get clobbered with a log. Mm-hmm. Or the guy I met at in Olympia who used to run this, when espressos first came in, he ran an espresso shop. This guy used to be brilliant, absolutely brilliant, but he got in like a car accident or something, and he was brain injured. And so he spent the rest of his life not being this brilliant person, but just being a kind of more average person.
Yeah. The first kind is when you contact coronavirus. Mm-hmm. The second kind is you get the vaccine and you recover. And the third one is you have a body and that is subjected to this kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. All right, because of the shortness of time, let's speed forward. Okay, the first 2 seals are related. Now that things are transient, we recognize that phenomena are unsatisfactory in nature. They can't provide us lasting happiness. So third seal is all phenomena are empty and selfless. So all phenomena are empty. Empty means that all phenomena are free of a self that we firmly believe to have 3 characteristics that are permanent, partless, independent of causes and conditions. So if we are coming in contact with objects regular, like regular people like myself experience negative mental states in form of afflictions such as attachment, anger may arise. All those afflictions are based on an illusion on ignorance, not knowing how things really exist. In our ignorance, we give objects an inherent appearance or existence, a self that they don't have. Also, there are non-Buddhist schools who say that a person has these 3 characteristics: permanent, partless, and independent from causes and conditions. They believe there is a self that exists in and of itself, but Buddhists reject this view. They say that a person is empty of a self. In this context, persons and phenomena are empty. I found it very beautiful description by Thich Nhat Hanh that describes that quite poetically. I wanted to share it with you. If you are a poet, he's saying, you will clearly see that there is a cloud floating in this piece of paper, maybe of the book. Without a cloud, there would be no rain. Without rain, the trees cannot grow. And without trees, you cannot make paper. The cloud is required for the paper to exist. If the cloud isn't there, the sheet of paper isn't there either. So we can say that the cloud and the paper are interbeing. That's his description, or inter-are, he sometimes uses. If we look more closely at this piece of paper, we can see the sunshine in it. If there is a sunshine, the forest cannot. If there is no sunshine, the forest cannot grow. Then nothing can grow. Even we cannot grow without sunshine. Hence, we know that the sunshine is also in this sheet of paper in the book. For example, paper and sunshine are inter-are. And if we go further in our contemplation, we can see the lumberjack who cut the tree down and brought it to the sawmill to be turned into paper. And we see the wheat because we know that the woodcutter could not live without his bread. That is why the wheat that became his bread is also in this piece of paper. The woodcutter's father and mother are also in this piece of paper. If we look like that, we see that without all these things, this piece of paper would not exist. I can just say that's just beautiful to go through the world like that. All right, the second is all phenomena are selfless. When we say all phenomena are empty of a self, of a permanent, partless, independent self, then we refer to a self how it's described in non-Buddhist philosophy. But when we say all phenomena are selfless, we refer not to a philosophical belief, but how the I naturally occurs. It seems that our person, the self, exists separately from body and mind, substantially, inherently existent. This view is not based on philosophical view, but occurs innately within us. There's a description that I couldn't recall, like we are born with it. Not through philosophical view, it's not adapted. Innate, yeah, it's innate. In fact, all phenomena are empty of a self. Means they don't exist self-sufficient substantially. Everything exists in dependence on a variety of causes, conditions, parts, and labeling. Everything, objects, or the person, oneself. But we do not realize this in reality. Our consciousness is polluted with ignorance, illusions. We do not even know all the details of our own language, like grammatics, vocabulary, and such. So you may experience that in your own life. And this is just superficial knowledge, right? And we do know even less how the ultimate reality of phenomena exists, inclusive our own person. Therefore, we attach to our own person, to other people, objects, self-sufficient, substantially existent self. That's the level of our ignorance. And based on that, afflictions such as anger or attachment arise. So therefore, I thought we will use this time now to do a very, very brief meditation. It's not sophisticated. It's just I'm reading something, and you just follow with your imaginary mind along. Just close your eyes so that you have a little bit of a physical experience of it. First, an entry. If you examine emotions such as attachment and anger, we see that they are rooted in grasping at inherent existence. The stronger our grasping at an independent I, the stronger our attachment to the concerns of that self. We cling to whatever is seen as impermanent to the self, and are hostile towards whatever impedes fulfilling its interests. For example, we may hold on to the position of being a president. Behind the labeling, I'm the president, is the belief in a self whose happiness is extremely important. If someone else then takes the position, we become angry because the happiness of this I has been adversely affected. Okay, take, for example, the head of a government of a particular country, such as the US. And think about a possible future Mr. Biden as a president. He is depending on the designation made by the people of this country. The basis exists long before this person becomes the head of the government, means he has his body and mind with the different qualities, but he is not yet a head of the government. Only when he has won an election and is legally appointed will he be named and accepted by the people as head of the government and will exercise this function. This example also makes it clear that phenomena do not exist from their own side, independently, regardless of the name, the concept that we add. Only by name or thought do phenomena come about and fulfill their functions. If this person were inherently head of the government on his part, he should have been one from the beginning on. He should have been born as such, which is obviously not the case. Only because the designation by the convention will he become the head of a government. And this is how all phenomena exist. Our perception, however, does not take this fact into account. It appears to us that we perceive things and judge them as if they existed completely from their side, regardless of the name. In realizing this, we can eliminate all pollutions in our mind, all the wrong views, and attain Nirvana, true peace. Our next point, to renounce all sufferings, particularly self-grasping ignorance, which is the root cause of all miseries. Alright, let's speed into the fourth seal. Nirvana is true peace. So Nirvana is the complete elimination of all pollutions of our mind, means all causes of dukkha, such as attachment, hatred, ignorance with their seeds. We attain Nirvana through the path of meditation. The path to liberation is called the five paths: path of accumulation, of preparation, of seeing, meditation, and no more learning. The path of accumulation and preparation is still polluted. With the path of seeing, we attain direct realization of emptiness and generate ultimate bodhicitta. Everybody has the potential to become a Buddha, free from all afflictions and ignorance. Everybody can attain Nirvana, true peace. How? Through the help of Dharma. The words of the Buddha and the experiential Dharma means insight and ethical results of practicing the Dharma. The words of the Buddha are basically contained in 3 baskets. What are these? The Sutra, the Vinaya, and the Abhidharma. Yeah. And what entails the experiential Dharma? Mm-hmm. Or we could say ethic, concentration, and wisdom. Kind of summarizing this section on page 12, His Holiness is saying, according to the Prasangikas, ignorance is not simply a state of unknowing. It actively grasps or conceives things to exist in a way that they do not. Superimposing inherent existence on persons' phenomena, it apprehends what is contrary to reality. Whereas persons and phenomena do not exist inherently under their own power, ignorance grasps them as existing in that way. As we investigate how phenomena actually exist, our conviction that ignorance is erroneous increases. By seeing and familiarizing ourselves with the wisdom knowing reality, we gradually erode the force of ignorance and the undisciplined mind. When the cause, ignorance, is completely uprooted by its counterforce, wisdom, its resultant dukkha is likewise extinguished. This state of freedom is Nirvana, lasting peace, true happiness. Therefore, the 4th seal of Buddhism is that Nirvana is true peace. That's a speedy process for the 4 seals with a very speedy, not to be copied length meditation on it. But you got the flavor, how it could look like. So if there's any comment what I missed, you think, please share so that we are not misleading our online participants in anything. Otherwise, we will close this session with a dedication so that we can be in time for His Holiness's online teaching that you will find on dalailama.org.